Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. On this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. First we're going to start with the Black Sea. Today the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation reported that during the previous night the Ukrainians made another attempt to attack the Russian fleet using the Navy drones. The Ukrainians attacked the Russian ship Sergei Kotov and Vasily Bykov. All those attacks were repelled, so as I understand during the day we're going to see more updates and probably some video confirmations of those attacks, so let's wait. Anyway, we see that the Ukrainians intensified their attacks in this area. A few days ago, the Ukrainian sources published the video of their full-line production of such a type of Navy drones, so probably they will increase the number of attacks, and not just in the vicinity of like the southern area of Black Sea, the area where the Russians blocked the Ukrainian grain like road, and also the Ukrainians will continue attacks in the vicinity of Crimea and even in the eastern part of the Black Sea. Now we're moving to Kharkiv. Today we got also video from the Ukrainian sources. The Russians during the previous night made another massive drone attack against the city, and there were a few explosions in that area. And the thing is that a few days ago there was a very interesting case. For example, if you remember, yesterday there was also explosions in Kharkiv, and main explosions took place in the international airport of Kharkiv. Let's increase the range just for better understanding of the situation. Yes, this is the missile strikes in Kharkiv that took place yesterday. And the thing is that one of the richest person in Ukraine published video from Kharkiv, exactly from that airport, where he for his social networks, and he published the video and there was like new drones on the background. So he was trying to show that he invested money and he gave a lot of money to the Ukrainian army and he bought new drones. And the Russians basically managed to discover the position of those drones basically based on that photo, and after that they made missile strikes. So basically the Ukrainian person, very rich person, discovered and shown the Russian positions of newly created and bought drone. Now we're moving to Moscow. We got also a lot of very interesting updates from Moscow. The second day in a row, the Ukrainians may try to attack the city, and they're trying to attack the same area. There is like a part of Moscow which calls the Moscow city, the area where you can find big buildings, like 50 floors up to 100 floors buildings. So this is the only area in Moscow where you can find very big buildings. And yesterday there was attack. Today the Ukrainians repeated that attack, and the question is, what is the purpose of the Ukrainians? The Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation, for example, reported that during the previous night the Ukrainians made an attempt to attack this part of Moscow using 2 drones. All of them were shot down by the Russians' air defense. But anyway, one more time, what is the purpose of this attack? I'm talking about this area, as you can see, high buildings and so on. And if you ask my opinion, I'll give you my opinion, that the only purpose and the only reason of Ukrainian attack in this direction I see is that the Ukrainians want to repeat the situation, or not to repeat, but make the similar situation, similar attack that we have already seen on the 11th of September of 2001. So this is big buildings. Currently the Ukrainians are trying to test the Russian air defense, and now they're attacking the Russian big buildings just with the light drones, but the main purpose is not to attack, is just to stress and test the Russian air defense system. And as soon as they understand that they can do this, they can attack these buildings with heavier drones, with more explosive on board, and after that all these buildings can be ruined and just fell down, as we've saw on the 11th of September. So this is the only explanation why the Ukrainians took a decision to attack these big buildings. There are no military offices, there are no Wagner, let's say, offices, there is no president office, just a civilian area where people try to make business and try to make money. That's it. And furthermore, the Russians, this building is new buildings. They were built in this century, and the thing is that the Russians haven't faced the problems with terrorist attack for the previous 20 years. And don't forget about the Russian corruption. So if you ask my opinion, as I understand, these buildings are not ready, are not prepared against such a heavy attacks like heavy drones and so on, and they will be basically ruined and fell down if the Ukrainians will use heavier drones or something like this. I hope hope that this is not going to happen, but the Ukrainian authorities reported that on the 24th of August, the Independence Day of Ukraine, the Ukrainians are planning to attack Russia with massive drone waves, massive drone attacks, and so on. So basically, this is exactly probably the Ukrainians are planning to implement within these months. Now we're moving to the south, to Orekhov Bridge. Today we got a lot of very interesting videos from this area. The Ukrainians continue to implement the evacuation process, the rotation process. The Russians discovered the Ukrainian positions and they bombed them almost during the previous night, during this morning, during the previous evening. In this video, we see how the Ukrainians were planning to rotate and evacuate Ukrainian soldiers using the personal armored carriers, but the Russians control every single field, every single forest line. It's obviously because it's not a very big deal to do this, and as a result, for example, of artillery strike on this video, we see how the Ukrainians lost another armored personal carrier. Interesting videos are coming from this area. The Russians published video how they probably this is the old video from the previous waves, but another video from another angle how the Russians destroy a small convoy of Ukrainian armored vehicles using drones, using Lancet strike. As a result of attack, the Ukrainian tank just blown up and destroyed the armored vehicles that were nearby. Another video we got from area on the north of Robotyne. The Russians reported that they discovered the Ukrainian forces, the Ukrainian light vehicle that was trying to implement evacuation, and that armored vehicle was destroyed. Furthermore, the Russian claims that a fresh video we got of the previous night, the Russians drone attacked the Ukrainian tank, and after that there was a very heavy explosion. We got this video from many angles. This is the same video from another angle. The tank arrived. There was Ukrainian soldiers who was running around this area, and after the tank tried to start movement, we will see a drone on the north, flying from the north. Just a second, that was a very small episode, and after that the tank was destroyed. But this is about the Ukrainian situation, which confirms that Ukraine still controls the area, the sector on the north of Robotyne. But we got also another very interesting video from the south, from the area where we saw the massive destruction of Ukrainian army. I'm talking about this video. The Russian author claims that on this video we can see the evacuation and rotation process of the Russian forces. This video is geolocated and this is the fresh video that took place probably maybe even this night of the local time. The Russians sent personal armored carrier exactly to the area of massive destruction of Ukrainian forces that we saw during the previous days, during the previous attack. The Russian personal carrier got exactly to this area. Now soon you will see that this area we will recognize, I believe. So on the left corner we see that area where the Ukrainians lost a significant number of their armored forces, of armored vehicles and infantry. The Russians got the trenches. You see the black dots. That means that there is a real fortifications that were built by the Russians during the preparation process. And according to this video, the author claims that the Russians packed the infantry, the soldiers, completed the rotation process, and after that, that armored vehicle successfully left the territory. The thing is that this video confirms that the Russians during the previous days managed to launch a counteroffensive operation and to force the Ukrainians to step back from this area to the north. Another important thing that if you take a look at this video carefully, you're going to see that the Ukrainians were using all types of weapon to destroy that rotation machine. The Ukrainians were using cluster rounds, the Ukrainians were using just the regular artillery rounds, and so on. Just in a second we're going to see the beginning of usage of cluster rounds. This is Russian personal carrier with soldiers on board. And now we're going to see the usage of cluster rounds. Just a second. The Ukrainians start bombing with the regular rounds, and now they're going to another regular. And just in a second, we're going to see the cluster rounds. Just a second. He's trying to evacuate. He evacuated successfully. Now this is it. So the Ukrainians were trying to shut down that armored vehicle, but the Ukrainians were unsuccessful. So that means that as a result of counter-offensive operation, the Russians managed to restore their positions in this area, and we will update the map before the next video. And the Ukrainians were forced to step back further to the north, to let's say to the first defense belt on the north of Robotyne. And also, the Russians published another video of helicopters. Somewhere in the Zaporozhye area, their helicopters are working 24 hours per 7 days. And on this video, we see another episode of attack of Ka-52 with long-range missiles. I'll remind you that the Russians have upgraded their missiles. Now they can attack within a distance of 15 kilometers. When talking about Vremivka tactical bridgehead, the Ukrainians continue offensive operation, continue attacking Urozhaina, Staromayorsk. The Ukrainians continue attacking Priyutin. In this video, we see how the Ukrainian forces of 36th Marine Corps were attacking the Russian positions on the east of Priyutin, and they managed to discover the Russian armored vehicle BMP-1. And after that, they start bombing and shelling that armored vehicle with drones. So, as we can see, I'll remind you that probably this is the only successful unit that Ukrainians have. The units that can use and operate with drone forces. Another video we got a little bit from the north. This video is not geolocate softly. The thing is that, according to the author of this video, the Ukrainians were trying to shut down the Russian Ka-52 with anti-tank missile. So basically, the Ukrainians probably may be out of Stinger, or maybe Stingers are completely useless against the Ka-52, and basically the author tried to use the anti-tank missiles to shut down the helicopter, and he also was unsuccessful. Another video we got from the south area, from the area of Ugledar, and this very interesting video. I'll explain to you why. On this video, the author claims that the Ukrainians managed to discover and to destroy the Russian 2S4 Tulpan. And if you remember, during the previous days, the Russians were bombing and attacking heavily the Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of Novomikhailivka. So just a second, I will show you. So we see that there was like at least 2 areas of explosives, and maybe that was the guided bombs, maybe those were exactly the Tulpan. Anyway, the Ukrainians managed to discover the Russian positions, and after that, as a result of artillery strike, as a result of counter-artillery duels, the Ukrainians managed to destroy the Russian Tulpan. And what is the most interesting from this video is that the counter-artillery duels from the Ukrainian side was implemented by this artillery brigade. You're gonna see the icon of that brigade on the left bottom of this screen. And this brigade, according to deployment map, is located in Odessa area. This is 406th Artillery Brigade. So probably some forces of that brigade were redeployed to the south in direction of Vremivka. So maybe this is it. Now we're moving to Klishchiivka area, and today we got another video episode of more clashes in the vicinity of the southwestern part of Klishchiivka, and this video we got from the Russian side. The Russians claim, the author of this video claims that the Russians managed to deploy their tanks of 200th Brigade as close as possible to that area, and after the tanks got on the firing distance, they start bombing and shelling the Ukrainian positions in the southwestern part of Klishchiivka, which confirms that Ukrainians established control during the previous days, so at least over this part of the settlement. For now, the Ukrainians don't have possibilities, they don't have critical mass to develop their offensive operation further. And the Russians use this moment and they attack the Ukrainians with all type of weapon they have, at least on this bridgehead. We haven't received more updates from this territory. And probably that's it. Just a few videos more we got from the border. The Russians continue bombing, discovering and attacking the Ukrainian positions in Kharkiv area. And now, at least now, this situation, the entire situation with Kharkiv area gets a critical situation. Why is that? I'll try to explain to you just after the video. The Russians claims that they managed to discover the Ukrainian forces and to destroy the accumulation of their force, their positions, and so on. If we increase the number of updates, let's say from the 23rd of July, we're gonna see a massive usage. All these icons are geolocated videos. Every single one, including the yesterday ones that we discussed about the long-range artillery system that the Russians, and this is the same squad. So currently the Russians have redeployed a very powerful artillery squad in the vicinity of Kharkiv. They're very successful, they're very useful, and they're attacking and bombing the Ukrainians heavily in this area. For now, it's very difficult to determine what is it, whether it's just a regular artillery trainings, artillery exercises, a very successful one, or this is the preparation before another attempt to attack the, let's say, the capital of the eastern Ukraine. Very difficult to understand, but the level of attacks tells me that something important is going to take place exactly in this area and Sumy region as well. And that's it. Probably not. This is not everything. Also, we got some updates from Yevgeny Prigozhin. He published his own comments, his own situation regarding the situation with his camp with Wagner. Currently, Wagner was renamed. Currently, this is not the PMC Wagner. This is Wagner Group, and he reported that Wagner stopped recruiting process because of lack enough of forces on board. He discussed and gave his own opinion about the situation with Belarusian forces. He confirmed that there is very intensive trainings with the Belarusian forces. I remind you that the sources reported that Wagner's will be, according to even Prigozhin, the Wagner's will be redeployed, will start their operating on the 5th of August. But I'll give you my opinion about Wagner's and this situation. For now, everybody expect that Wagner's will be redeployed on the territory of Ukraine, and there's very likely that this is going to happen. But there is one big problem, and the problem is coming not from Ukraine, but the main problem about Wagner and about the situation is coming from Niger, the country that located in Africa, this one. As you know, during the previous days there was a military coup, and under support of Russian forces, some Niger military forces, military authorities managed to capture the power in this country, and currently there is a real conflict. This is ex-colony of France, and the France depends on the economy of this settlement. I'm talking about some uranium materials and of course gold, and there is a very high chances that the Western countries will try to make a military operation to restore the constitution power in this area. And of course, if such thing is going to happen, I believe that Wagner's and big part of Wagner forces will be redeployed to Niger to support the local forces against the Western intervention. So currently everything is freezed, and I believe that everybody try to understand what is going to be next. If everything is going to be fine, of course Wagner's will be redeployed on the territory of Ukraine, and they will continue their special military operation. But if something goes wrong in Niger, the Wagner's will be redeployed. At least a part of the Wagner forces will be redeployed in this area. Some sources are saying that the Wagner's have already redeployed a number of forces there, and now they're like military experts, specialists, teachers, and so on, and they train the local forces. But what is going to be next, very difficult to understand, because as understand, the Russians are going to fight for this country almost for everything, and they will spend everything they have just to keep this country and not to allow anyone else to return control over this territory. And now that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.